The Unexplained at Talk Radio. David Icke is in the middle of a big speaking tour. It's Dublin next week, but it's always somewhere else, whether it's Australia. They love him in the United States, lots of fans there. And of course here, where he packs out theatres and venues up and down the country. We talked, David, about this idea of free speech. Do you agree with me that there are some ideas and notions that don't deserve the oxygen of free speech? If you look, for example, at, and I'm sure you know him, I'm not sure what you make of him. He's been on this show a long time ago, and all he did was shout at me. But Alex Jones, the so-called conspiracy theory broadcaster, has made a string of outrageous and unsubstantiated claims that have brought him into conflict with an awful lot of people now. And some aspects of the electronic media, the modern media, the social media, are in the process of partly closing him down now for some of those things. I guess you would agree with me that there are some notions and ideas that are perhaps beyond the pale. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that Alex Jones should be turned off. That's a matter for other people. You know, he's doing his job and people are listening to him. That's not what I'm saying. But there are some ideas perhaps that don't deserve to be heard. And here you are saying free speech, total free speech.
No, I don't agree that anything shouldn't be heard. If you, for instance, have a situation where you are urging people to burn a house down, or you're urging people to do something to do with terrorism, there are laws against that. There are laws against that incitement. There are laws against inciting violence. My point is this: once you start censoring what people can say before the point of delivery, you are by definition giving an authority the power to say what people can and cannot hear. If people have a problem with someone saying something, then argue your point, put out information to show that they're talking nonsense. But once you start saying this is not acceptable, therefore we're going to stop anyone hearing it, that is a tyranny. That is what the Nazis did when they burned the books. What we have now is digital book burning through people like Google and Facebook. Any tyranny that comes to power, be it far left, far right, or far anything, immediately it has the power to do so, wants to close down all information that challenges its narrative, all information that exposes the truth about what it's doing and what's behind it. And therefore, if we're going to have a free society, and we're going to talk about free speech, then we have free speech, because if anyone doesn't have free speech, no one has it, because what is left is only the freedom to conform, not the freedom to speak your truth. And any sane and also mature society should be at peace with having people say what they think, whatever it is, then arguing against it, and of course having laws that say you cannot incite violence with your speech without consequence. You cannot do this, attack on this person with your speech to do them, to encourage people to do them harm without consequence. But once you start censoring speech before the point of delivery, then you are going down a very dark road. And what we're seeing, Howard, now is what happens when you do that. Because you first of all say, you cannot incite violence, therefore we're going to stop you doing that by preventing your what you say circulating. Okay, and people then say, well, in very large numbers say, well, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, but that's only the thin end of the wedge. We've started now. And then, oh, no, you can't say that. And then you can't say that. And then you can't say that. And we've now reached a point in this process, which is always the process. Just read the the methodology of Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister, and you'll see that what's playing out now is actually exactly the techniques that he advocated and pursued in Nazi Germany. So we've reached the point now where you can't say this about this gender, you can't say this about this group, you can't say this about this, can't say this about that. And what's happening is they're being picked off and picked off and picked off, which is exactly, again, the process described in 1984 by George Orwell.
But the norms of society constantly change. What is acceptable, things that were said on
acceptable to who?
Things that were said on comedy shows.
To who?
Hang on, let me finish the point, and then we'll get there. But things that were said on comedy shows in the 1970s, which I was watching with my parents, you quite rightly could not utter these days. Why? Because we're more enlightened. We are constantly moving forward. You can't just have everything out there, because you have a less enlightened society, and hopefully we are becoming better. I mean, if you look back to the dark ages in this country, if you stole a loaf of bread, they'd probably hang you. We're a bit more enlightened than that these days. Things constantly change, don't they?
But we're talking about freedom of speech and freedom of expression. We're not talking about, putting someone in jail for stealing a loaf. And if people don't want to hear it, then they won't. Then the whole thing will die out anyway, because no one will be interested. And if it's nonsense, then people can come along in the public arena and show with evidence and information that it's nonsense. Again, once you cross this line of censorship before the point of delivery, you are going down a very, very dark road. And we are going down that road now very, very fast, where there's less and less and less and less that you can actually say without, it doesn't circulate because the algorithms stop it, or the ghost banning on the internet, which I'm subject to, where you can actually post it, but the algorithms make sure it doesn't go anywhere. You're going down this road of handing power over the information that people receive or don't receive to some authority, and that authority is getting smaller all the time.
But you said at the beginning of this that there have to be some rules. There are some things that you would consider to be beyond the pale, and of course everybody would consider to be beyond the pale. So somebody has to make the rules.
After the point of delivery. After the point of delivery.
So in other words, you can put anything out there, and it can subsequently, somebody can take a look at it and adjudicate about it, but it's got to get out there first. That can't always work, can it, David? I mean, some stuff should not be seen, quite rightly.
It's got to get out there first. Otherwise, there's an authority deciding what gets out there and what doesn't. And that authority will do exactly what it's doing now, which is pick off more and more things that we can't say and we can't see and we can't hear. And that road leads to only one place: tyranny. Because that's what tyrannies do. That's the process they do. And, people need to be mature enough to accept that people will have opinions that they won't like and won't agree with. And instead of censoring them, they should argue their case and put out information to show that what's being said is not true. People who are confident of their case don't want to censor anyone with another view because they're confident of their case. Look at what's been thrown at me and the abuse and the lies that have been told about me in the last 30 years by the mainstream media. And I'm the one saying they should not be censored from doing so because of this very clear point. Once you censor before the point of delivery, you are putting power over what people see and hear into the hands of an authority, which will always, as history shows, abuse it.